I think I see some pictures online somewhere. I don't know if it was on your X account or where I seen it, but there's one of you walking by yourself, I think, in the roped off walkway, right? Where you're
Yeah.
actually still inside the ropes, obeying
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
ropes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the ropes
And
had been knocked down right before I don't know which one video you're talking about with me, but in one instance, I'm in those ropes by myself. And as I'm walking through them, some Antifa psycho goes through and knocks the whole thing down.
oh wow,
And before I can even get to the end of the hallway, Patriots come and pick all of them up right behind me and put them all back up in a row. And I turned around and videoed the guy that was picking them all up. And I said, "Hey, thank you. Thank you for doing that." And he was a guy in had a bandana around his face. And he said, "You don't have to thank me. I'm a fifth generation veteran, and nobody's gonna damage this building today." And that
right.
was the exact vibe and the reality of what was going on there. You had 100 people paid to be assholes, and you had 5,000 people in there just trying to get their congressman to do the right thing.
Right. There was another picture. I think you're just sitting on the bench, maybe by somebody else.
Yeah, a guy named Barry
Uh,
from New Hampshire that I was just talking to
yeah.
about politics of the day. He was an old man with two braces on his knees, and I'd been in the building already. The FBI had marched me all the way up the stairs this way and all the way down the stairs that way and told me exactly where to go everywhere. And by that time, I was exhausted, man. I was like, I just need to sit down and rest. And I was just sitting there resting with Barry talking about politics when I have it pits the Columbia Bugle somehow got the footage from the crazy, weird behavior officer that came and waved his baton at us. That was the only time that ever I got that an officer tried to attack me. And luckily his supervisor told him to stand down after that occurrence. But yeah, I have it pinned on my X account where he comes over and waves his baton in Barry's face, and Barry's is just, "Hey man, just calm down. We're just citizens. We're just relax. We're just here to try to get the government to do the right thing. Dude, we're not being violent. We're not doing anything." And after Barry said, "I'm not doing anything," the guy waved his. The funny thing about that guy, when I was sitting on that bench, that guy didn't have a face. He had a nylon mask over his entire face, so he looked like a friggin' stormtrooper. And he
Jeez.
was really high on caffeine, where his whole body was shaking. Like his entire body was shaking, and when he was waving his baton at us, but he wouldn't speak. He just got in our face and waved his baton at our face like he wanted to hit us. And then he went back. And then when neither of us reacted, he just went back to his group and he went and asked his sergeant if he could go back and hit us. And his sergeant told him to calm down, and he put him to the back of a group of like 14 guys and just made him stand against the wall and not go hit anybody. Thank goodness. Because this was
Yeah.
like, I guess after I'd been in there for 45 minutes or so.
Right on. How long do
Um,
you think you were actually in there?
they told me I was in there for over an hour.
Over an hour.
Yeah, at least that's what they told me. I was shocked. I thought I was in there. I knew I was in there for more than a half an hour, but they said that from the time they got me coming in the door, when they opened the west door, from the time I went out, because they weren't letting us out. But when I was sitting in the rotunda with Barry, finally some women started panicking and saying, "They're not letting us out. They're not letting us out. They're locking us in. They're locking us in." But I had been sitting there long enough that I could tell that there was one door that there was never any action coming from. Like, I'm all, there must be the way out is over there, because there's nothing happening over there. Well, when I walked over to that door, sure enough, there was just one Capitol police officer beating up anybody trying to come in that door, like permanently, and there was 150, 200 people standing behind him trying to leave. And there was the older gentlemen that were in the blue uniforms of the actual officers of the Capitol. There was an old man standing there, and he didn't know what to do. He's just like the guard for that door, but he wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there observing. And then the Capitol police officer with his gears, with a baton, is hitting everybody trying to come in that opposite door. And it was interesting because then another Capitol police officer came in that was in a motorcycle getup, in a motorcycle helmet, and he was like 7 feet tall. He was a foot and a half taller than everybody in the entire room, and he had a helmet on. And he walked through the whole room, and he walked up to the old man that was in the blue suit, and he said right to him, he said, "Sir, give me orders. Tell me how to get all these people out of this building safely." And the old man just looked at him, and he just said, "There's nothing you can do." And then the guy was so big and menacing that the old man's like, "Well, I gotta do something. I have to tell this cop something." So they went down the stairs, because you know how every level has all these stairs that go down. They went down. The old man waved him down the stairs, and they went down the stairs, and they had a meeting at the next level down to get away from everybody, so we couldn't hear what they were saying. And then they walked back up the stairs, and the old man just went right back to standing there, and the big giant Capitol Police motorcycle cop just kind of stood there for a second and just kind of assessed it again. And I went up to the old man. I go, "Well, what are we gonna do, dude? What are we gonna do?" And he said, and he looked at me. He goes, "Well, y'all know if you go down there, you're gonna get shot. This is the only way out the door." And there were already a bunch of patriots standing behind the Capitol Police officer that was hitting everybody, like wanting to grab him, but not wanting to grab him because he's a cop. So it was like this big mental moral dilemma that like 20 guys are standing there that all just want to leave, but they don't want to get in trouble for beating up the cop. So finally, the big giant motorcycle cop just finally realizes what he has to do, and he goes and he grabs the other officer with a bear hug and just picks him up and moves him out of the way, and everybody opens the door and we all walk out. So it was really interesting that it was harder to get out of the building than it was to get into it for a lot, really.
That's not great, I wouldn't think. You would think they would have wanted you guys to get out of there as quick as possible.
Yeah, well, that was the whole thing, is there was no method to the madness, you know. It was just get as many people in trouble as we possibly can, you know, causing havoc. But the problem they had was nobody was there to cause a problem. Everybody that was in that building was just there so that they could get. I just wanted to tell the congressman, just vote. Just put it back to vote. What are you guys doing? You can't just certify an illegal election. Everybody knows this is the most baloney election ever. Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes. There's no friggin' way, dude. Like, that's all everybody was asking for. Just do the right thing. You know, nobody had a weapon. No, there was no violence. You know, like I believe, I think one of the most underrated people in the entire world ever was Mahatma Gandhi. You know, as I was in junior high school and we learned that Mahatma Gandhi kicked the British Empire out of India without any violence at all. I'm like, well, and after reading the Bible my whole life, well, it makes perfect sense. Turn the other cheek. There's no reason for the people, for the truth, to have to resort to violence. All we have to do is put light on it, and it'll come to the surface. Who knew it was going to take 4 years?
Right. When you were in there, didn't they, or it's true that you made it to Nancy Pelosi's office, correct? Is that part of the allegations that were made against you?
I did. Well, like I said, yeah, well, when I was on the first level, when I went in the first front door, I immediately turned left and they were having everybody go to the right. But I'm not I'm a really small, I'm 5'6", 120 pounds, soaking wet. So I'm not a big person. I don't like being in tight crowds. I just wanted to be a witness to what was going on. And once they opened the doors and invited everybody in, I went in. But instead of going to the right where they were trying to get everybody to go, I went to the left. And when I went to the left, there was an officer hiding standing in the shadows in the dark. But he had opened a door because I'd been looking through all the windows for 10 or 15 minutes before they opened the door. I'd been up on the top, but not trying to get in the building. And I was just looking in all the windows on the west side of the building. I'd seen elevator shafts and sitting rooms and office spaces. So when I went in, I went to the same direction of all the rooms all the windows that I'd been looking in. Well, I had noticed that one of the doors was now open, and it hadn't been open because I was looking in the window from the outside and that door was shut. Well, when I got in there, of all the rooms on the left-hand side, only one door was open, and it was a room that I'd been looking in. And I went inside it, and there was like a group of guys all in gas masks and military gear and like all geared up for a false flag in that room, having like a little meeting with each other. And I didn't think about it until my lawyer brought it up years later when I showed her my footage. She's like, "Oh, there's so-and-so and so-and-so." And she was talking to the other lawyer when I was in a conference call that I even realized I had footage of people that they were watching. But anyway, I went into that room. I said, "Don't touch anything." They opened this room on purpose on my video. I said, they opened this room to vandalize it. I could tell. And then when I walked out of that room, there was only one way to go. It was all black and dark, blocked off to the left of me. So I walked back to the entrance that I came in. And there was there was somebody standing at the base of the stairs yelling, "Come upstairs, come upstairs, come upstairs." So that's what I did. I just went to where they were calling. So when I got to the next level, I ended up in a hallway with the only guy in the whole building that I ever saw with an actual real media camera on his shoulder. And he had a handler walking right next to him, telling everybody that he was don't harm the cameraman. Don't harm the cameraman. He works for National Geographic. He's neutral. And I remember laughing out loud. I remember thinking to myself, nobody believes you, dude. Like, everybody knows this is a CNN cameraman. Like, I know it for a fact because I know CNN and National Geographic are the same friggin' company. So it's just like, it was just like a stupid thing for the guy to say. Like, nobody cares about your dumb cameraman. But he made it very clear, we don't want you to know it's CNN. We don't want you to know that I'm the FBI handler. This is all just normal behavior. And then when I got to the top of the stair, and then sure enough, I followed them I got off the top of the stair, and right there to the right is that sign that says Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Now there's congressmen that now have come out that said that those signs don't even exist in real life, that they made all those signs for the friggin' false flag event, which I thought was even crazier. But anyway, I saw that sign, so I went through that door. This is where it gets hilarious. I go under that sign, and when I went in there, you're not actually in Nancy Pelosi's office. You're in a hallway that has these ancillary desks on the left-hand side with partial height walls, and it's just a place for a lady to sit. And there's two of them, and then there's the door to Nancy's office. Well, when I was in that when I got into that little hallway underneath after that sign, it was three guys wide. I just jumped into one of those secretary desks areas just to not be crammed with everybody who was trying to get in there. And I realized I was going into a dead end anyway, and there was already so many people. I'm like, I'm far enough. Well, I wasn't standing in that little secretary area for 10 seconds when somebody yelled SWAT. And I literally just laughed out loud because I was like, what are they doing? Jumping out of her desk drawer, dude? Like, we're literally on the top of this castle in this stone building. There's no like secret trap doors into this little tiny office where we're at right now. Like, it was just the most asinine, stupid, false flag thing for a fake thing to happen, where all they were doing is just getting everybody to leave the room. And sure enough, it worked perfect. As soon as they said SWAT, everybody just turned around and walked out. And then the picture that is of me standing under that sign is me after the guy yelled it and me laughing and me coming out, and I'm standing to the CNN camera guy. He's the one that got the video of me, the guy I walked up there with. So they just lured everybody up there, set up, and got the shot. And I was the guy that came out. And as soon as I walked out and saw him, I knew all the hair on my whole body stood up and go, oh, I just went viral. And I just turned around next to him and got my camera out and said, okay, this is the shot. And I videoed the next guy coming out that took his cane and knocked the friggin' knocked the sign off the wall. I actually have that on my own personal footage because I got wrapped right into the whole false flag, like into the perfect spot for the whole show. It was hilarious, dude. It was such a setup. It was so fake inside there. It was just it was so poorly done as far as, if you were there, you knew, there was no question. It's just super sad that Kevin Greason and Benjamin Phillips had to get murdered by him with the smoke grenades, and Roseanne Boylan had to get trampled to death and beaten to death over the head. Like the violence that the police inflicted on innocent civilians that were just there to voice their First Amendment. It's just disgusting because, yeah, very unprofessionally done.